Sabe como a middle passa aí a despesa com tudo.
Mhm. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Small talk this afternoon. Welcome to Synthesis, offline access to multi-repository content. So yeah, let's see, what is synthesis? Synthesis is a combination of components, elements to form a connected whole. Just before I start, just want to acknowledge the Unisa offline project, where synthesis was born basically, and then some of my colleagues back in South Africa for presentations and ideas that they brought, and then for Bjorn and Alan for their ideas on OER. Also spoke to Bjorn last week, which brought a lot more insight into what we will do. Okay, a little bit about me. I'm the development manager for Apereo Lab. We're a commercial affiliate in South Africa. So yeah, helping loads of universities there, not just with Sakai, but also involved in Kumali and then just general software development for universities. Okay. This is what we're going to look at. I'm sure you guys can read, so just move along. The learning environment. We believe that the learning environment consists of three major parts: is content, the people and pedagogy, and then technology. This talk will be about the technology side, but this doesn't mean that the other sides are less important. You do need all of them for the learning ecosystem to exist or to function properly. So technology is just part of it, and an enabler towards learning. Yeah, so this is all about using the technology to deliver the content. So why offline? Offline doesn't always make sense if you think about it. We're all sitting here and we all have our laptops connected to the internet right now, and it doesn't always feel so much, doesn't make so much sense that we have to consider offline. All the application is going online. If you consider how Google and Microsoft is driving their online solutions, it sounds a little bit counterproductive to look at offline solutions. But yet, even Google does deliver content offline. WordPress does it. And as we heard this morning in Laura's talk, the digital divide is still very, very big and real, and especially in other countries. North America is very fortunate, but even here there's a divide. But in Africa, and we definitely see a big problem of bandwidth and the cost of bandwidth. So that is definitely the drive behind something like this. Internet access is not always guaranteed. And if we look at the infrastructure, this is just a survey, a quick example from Ericsson's report. And this is for connected people. They say that in Middle East and Africa, 80% of connected people are on edge. And in 5 years' time, it will be about 20%. So I'm sure you all know that edge is not really a viable solution for any online application. So, and that is just for connected people. This is not even considering all the people that's not yet connected. The cost is also exorbitant, especially in Africa. It's a lot more expensive than in first world countries. Then you also get students that travel a lot, even if you consider not just students, but everybody. If you do find yourself in a plane or traveling somewhere where you not always have connectivity, Yeah, and there's quite a few reasons to look at offline solutions for learning. So, where did it all start? Unisa wanted to provide their Sakai offline as an offline tool for its students. So I've got lots of students that has either no internet connection at home or very bad internet connection at home. So I wanted to provide an environment that looks exactly like Sakai, but works offline. And this also included stuff like forums, which is a bi-directional tool, assignments, which brings its own interesting scenarios, and then of course just content delivery like resources and relating. The requirements was that it works absolutely on any platform and any device, and it must have no install. It must just be able to run, basically, offline. And of course, it must look exactly like the Sakai instance. So we started this project about last year, I don't remember, June, and delivered it in about 3 months, which was very tight delivery timelines. But it is surely made for an interesting project. And as I mentioned, it also was the start of where synthesis was formed. So what is synthesis? Synthesis looks especially at that to center circles. So it's a platform, a middleware that connects the content to the user devices. The idea is to provide a tool that can deliver not just Sakai content, but any repository content. You can think of open educational resources, or lots of schools have multiple LMSs, and to combine that into something that a user can manage or see offline. And that's basically the idea behind it. So, taking Sakai, and you can think of something like announcements as a resource, and then you can also think of all kinds of small pockets of resources that you want to deliver to a student in an offline environment. Synthesis then connects to these resources, create offline packages, syncable offline packages, so that you obviously have smallest possible sync size for bad internet connections, and delivers this to the client, to the user's device. Then there's different types of content. If we keep to Sakai as an example, announcements might be, it's a global content for everybody, but you also have some content that is very user specific. So you have to cater for both of these contents. And on one side, the global content, you can keep up to date with the synthesis engine the whole time. But user content, you need to basically create and manage on the user request, which makes it a bit interesting or more complex. But the global content you can sync and actually give or reduce the load that you have on your LMS. In Unisa's case, for instance, they have 300,000+ students, so the load on the LMS is quite high. But with synthesis, it actually lessens the load, seeing that there's a middleware that takes content one time for many users, instead of all the users connecting to the LMS the whole time, and retrying because of bad connections as well. Yes, so synthesis is also, what's very important is synthesis has two parts. The one is basically the engine in the middleware, and I think it's on the next slide. So on the server side, it's basically Java with loads of Spring in there, and it exposes everything through RESTful services. But then it has multiple clients. So you have a desktop client, and you have device clients for Android, iPhone, iOS, and so on. And these clients can talk to the engine, but they are actually custom made for whatever your purpose is. While the engine stays the same, you choose your clients depending on the content that you display and manage. So that is really all the technologies. The client-side technologies varies, mostly JavaScript and related technologies, especially for the desktop implementation currently. Since the request was that there should be no install and it should run on any platform, and it must obviously do quite a bit of front-end work, we did use a Node server on the front end and lots of JavaScript, so that's great and works very nice. If you guys want to see a demo, you can come around the Open Collab table at any time and I can play around with a demo for you. Yeah, and that is really just about everything very fast. In the future, what we really want to do is we want to change this service to a multi-tenant service for a couple of reasons. But just making it open and more available for everybody. In South Africa and Africa, there's a lot of colleges that doesn't have a lot of money, and having implementations for every single college is not an option. So the idea would be to provide one service that could be cheaper for everybody. And it's a big drive behind the multi-tenancy. Then another thing that I think is very important is peer-to-peer updates. So instead of getting your updates from the server and needing a connection, you could get peer-to-peer updates for the global data. So you need some little bit of indication between two people to agree that they both do share the same content, and then share the content. So if you do walk past somebody that already has the content, and just help you getting it from them. Then currently the clients are all custom-made for the client applications, are all custom-made for the clients, organizations, institutions. Some generic clients will definitely help and make it easier to implement. And then, of course, we want to connect to more and more resources on the back end. So looking at different LMSs, like also Moodle and so on, in OE repositories, and creating more and more integrations with that. I think that is pretty much my whole story. So,
I have a quick.
Yes.
So what versions of Sakai have you already implemented?
We implemented Sakai 2.9, but it's not the whole one. Just see, just somewhere. Okay, so we've done resources, Meleti, announcements, tool, including calendar, it's not on here, social schedule, and Yaft. So obviously Yaft is bi-directional.
Okay.
And then the FAQ and welcome is to custom tools for Unisa. Yes?
So, in terms of the technology that supports this, I mean, you said before that there's two pieces to it, and the part that is up essentially sort of in the cloud is Java and Spring, but does it live inside the Sakai install, or is it a separate, completely separate server?
It's completely separate. So what we do is we use services to integrate with, for instance, Sakai. So everything is run through services, and Synthesis, the Synthesis server would be a middleware application that stands by itself, and then just connect to the repo and pull source from there. It then actually contains it within Synthesis for collecting it and creating small syncable bundles, so that you have less interaction with the actual repository and quicker interaction for the users.
Now I understand, because you said before, oh, you can just get the thing once for everybody, and I was like, well, how does that work? But now I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so basically stores it more away from the actual repo as well. So there is an overhead, obviously, if you're worried about content size or your institution have limited storage, then you're almost doubling your storage,
Well, yeah,
which is a bit, could be counterproductive, but the thing is, it's a lot faster for the user. So everything is done so that the user's internet connection is used as little as possible. So if you have trouble connecting, you're going to have to connect 2 or 3 times. But if it's fast and it's quick, you're going to use actually less communication to get that. So taking it away from the actual repository and storing it in an already packaged bundle makes it a lot quicker for the user to just grab that update.
And then on the client side, is it an app that they have on their phone, or how does it work?
Okay, so on the desktop, there's an application that runs through whatever operating system you have. It's a browser. So it's a little node server that starts up. What Unisa actually has is they've got little, I think I've got it here.
Oh yeah, they have the bracelets.
Oh, you've seen the
Yeah,
bracelets.
I
They've
saw
got
the
little
website.
bracelets, and every student get a little bracelet, and they can run around and pop it to any PC, and it will work. And then the phone, yeah, it's a native app that you download. So the bracelets is nice because they get it already with all the content loaded. On the phone, unfortunately, you can't put the app with all the content on the store. So they have to initially do a big download to start.
So the first download is a lot,
It's
but then
a
after
lot.
that it's quick.
Yeah. So hopefully they're on campus do a first download and off campus for the next. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
You mentioned about a tool being bidirectional. What exactly does that mean?
So for if you just resources is a single directional, it just comes down to the user. But Yaft, they actually have to communicate back. So they can create forums and talk on Yaft, and it's stored on the device, PC or phone or whatever first. And when they're ready, they can say sync, and then their conversations only get uploaded to the LMS. The thing there is this is something that's quite difficult, not technology-wise, but if you think about the rules, is they get marked for their forums. So when did they actually create their forum? When it was on the device, when they wrote it, or when they synced. And this is very important for the university then to communicate that very clearly to the students is when you sync, not when you create it. They also wanted to do assignments, but eventually decided it's just going to be too difficult to explain to all the students that you need to sync to have an assignment there, and if you sync after the deadline, it's not there. So yeah. They also have this Amigo a test and quizzes tool, but it basically just presents all the tests, and when they want to do it, it forces them to go online because of all the rules and the difficulty of explaining it. Anything else?
You said Sakai was one of the LMS. Any other LMS that you're probably...
We're playing with Moodle currently to create some batches. What we are doing is we're actually still working a lot. The Unititled project is done, and it's in a phase where we just expand on it, but we've taken synthesis away from it, branching, and we're actually doing a lot of work now to make synthesis a more generic service instead of a too much Unisa-based service, because they add a lot of rules on how they want to manage it. It doesn't mean everybody wants to manage it like that. So. Okay, thank you very much, guys. More time.
Oh, I guess I do have a follow-up question. If anybody else was interested in doing something similar to this? What's available for that?
What's available?
Yeah.
So we want to open source this at some other stage, but not right now. We first want to make sure that we have something that's really we feel workful, I guess. Maybe we too worried about this, but anyway. Otherwise, I don't know. Come and speak to me, and just we can see what we can do. Yeah.
The reason why I'm interested in this, I just got back from someone's Sakai in Ghana. Like someone has read issues.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure they'll be interested.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so
No, just do this one. To show you.
That's
Actually,
alright.
it just looks like Sakai.
Yeah, because the goal is for the interface to basically be the same and then not necessarily.
They don't want to do double training. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay,
Well,
great.
thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Dr.